Well, to talk about all this, we're now joined by Conservative Deputy Whip Chris Warkenten and NDP House Leader Peter Julian. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
Hi, good to be with you.
Now, we're going to start a discussion, but I do want to note that an invitation was given to the Liberals to join us today, but obviously that is not taking place. So, Mr. Warkenten, I'm going to begin with you. The Speaker's office says it was basically a miscommunication with the questionable text posted by the Liberal Party's website. It was done without the Liberal Association knowing about it. Does that address your concerns at all about what you saw online?
That could be the absolute same excuse that he's given time and time again. It's always somebody else did it. Usually it's the Liberal Party of Canada or the Liberal Party of Ontario. Then he says it was done without his knowledge. He didn't believe that it was going to be, it wouldn't, be structured in the way that it was. And then, of course, inevitably he won't be able to prove that any of that is true. So the question is why this Speaker has so many experiences where he does partisan activity, blames it on the Liberal Party, and then says that he's completely innocent and nobody should look any further. The question is for this particular Speaker is why is it that he is the only Speaker that has not only done this once, but now 3 or 4 times?
Mr. Julian, what's your take on it now that we've heard some explanation from the Liberal Party?
Well, it was an apology from the Liberal Party, and we demanded an apology. I think given that what we saw was Liberals, without the authorization of the Speaker, posting something that was highly inappropriate, even though the Speaker runs all of his communications through the Clerk of the House, which is the way it should be. The fact that he was blindsided by this Liberal Party post is absolutely disrespectful to the office of the Speaker and to the House of Commons. And the Liberal Party showed a stupid disregard and disrespect for the Speaker. Now that the Liberal Party has apologized, that's, I think, important. But the reality is the Conservatives have been very erratic around this. You'll recall last fall when Speaker Rota made a huge mistake in judgment. The Conservatives were going after the Liberal Party of Canada. The NDP stepped up as the adults in the room, and we asked for his resignation in a respectful way, but we asked for it nonetheless, and eventually Speaker Rota resigned. Now, this time, the Liberal Party is clearly at fault, and the Conservatives, instead of going after the Liberal Party of Canada, are now going after the Speaker. So this kind of erratic nature of how Conservatives approach things in the House, I think is tiring to everybody. The reality is, you look at Mr. Warkenten's letter, there's only one paragraph on the post. The 3 pages are all about Mr. Poilievre having been asked to withdraw his very disrespectful, unparliamentary comments. And it's like the Conservatives just don't want to get beyond.
You should actually read the letter.
Mr. Poilievre was so inappropriate. So inappropriate in the House, and all members of all parties except the Conservatives all agreed that the Speaker acted in an appropriate way by asking Mr. Poilievre to withdraw. He didn't withdraw, he didn't apologize. He was forced to leave the House for 1 day. Since then, Conservatives have been better behaved, and that's important, I think. We need to get down to the work of this summer, and the next few weeks means passing the NDP's bill on pharmacare. It means passing the NDP's push for affordable housing. It means passing the NDP's anti-scab legislation. It means passing the NDP's school lunch program. All of these things that the NDP has forced the Liberal government to do are things that parliamentarians should be concentrating on, rather than trying to get another psychodrama around the Speaker's position.
Mr. Warkenten, how do you respond to that? Because, your members, many of them have been expressing concerns about Mr. Fergus even before he was elected to the chair officially. Is this a bit of a grudge match? Is this a bit of a personal grudge to get at the Speaker from the Conservatives?
There was so much misinformation. What Peter just said, it's unbelievable that he's able to do that with a straight face. But here are the facts. There was reservation and concern from a number of parties in the House of Commons before this Speaker was elected. He had been former president of the Liberal Party. He had been the parliamentary secretary for the Prime Minister, defending Justin Trudeau time and time again for scandals that had no excuse. He was doing that up until just days before the Liberals, along with the NDP, elected him as the Speaker in the House of Commons. We know why the Liberals want the Speaker to be the Speaker in the House of Commons is because Greg Fergus favors the Liberal Party. The question is why does the NDP not want to have a referee in the House of Commons that is actually fair, that isn't just a partisan appointment by the government? We understand why the Liberals want him to stay there. We just aren't sure why the NDP wants. They've never given an explanation. They misrepresent the facts. Mr. Julian talks about the letter. Well, the letter actually cataloged the offense after the offense after offense, and included Mr. Julian's own words. When another report was written on this speaker because of partisan activity, it was exactly this Peter Julian that said if there was one more example of it, they would certainly vote to get this guy out. The question is what deal has been struck now, and why all the misrepresentation of the facts?
Yeah, so I didn't interrupt Mr. Warkenten, and because I don't believe that that's an appropriate thing to do. You'll recall he interrupted me repeatedly. The reality is the Conservatives are in a grudge match because they lost the Speaker's election.
That's false.
They had their preferred candidate. That preferred candidate did not get the majority of the support of members of Parliament. And so ever since then, they've been engaged in a grudge match. Now, we have a speaker who today
your own comments
asked and here again, the disrespect.
Your own comments about
here
the
again,
speaker.
The disrespect.
You
right?
said if there was one more time, you said if there was one more time, one more example, you would vote against him.
See, this is what Conservatives want to do. They
just
want
holding
to
you to account.
The whole thing down. So today we had the Finance Minister being obliged to withdraw her comments and to apologize. Why isn't Mr. Poilievre capable of doing that thing that most Canadians do? Most Canadians understand
Mr. Warkenten, please let Mr. Julian speak.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, this is the Conservatives' wrecking crew. They act like thugs in the House of Commons. Absolutely inappropriate. And here again, we see another example. So Mr. Poilievre refused to withdraw, refused to apologize. He was put out for a day, and the Conservatives now, every day is a grudge match to them. It's highly inappropriate, their actions in the House of Commons. The Liberal Party of Canada had a highly inappropriate posting. They have apologized for it now, and they've apologized profusely to the Speaker of the House of Commons, and that's the way it should be.
You know, Mr. Warkenten, I'm wondering if you could draw and compare, though. You know, of course, Mr. Scheer used to be the Speaker in the House. He went on to lead your party, obviously making very partisan arguments during the campaign. Why extend to him the courtesy and the benefit of the doubt to be impartial and not extend it to Mr. Fergus?
Never once did he do that when he was in the Speaker's chair, not once. There wasn't one single example. What we have is misrepresentation by the NDP after misrepresentation about the facts in this case. The question is why doesn't the NDP believe that there should be an impartial adjudicator in the House of Commons? That's a simple question. The answer has not been forthcoming. We have the testimony of Mr. Julian. Mr. Julian went to the media and said if there was one more example of this type of partisan activity, the NDP would be voting to expel this leader. The NDP has refused to stand by Mr. Julian's own words. The question is why? What deal was struck? The Liberals don't have a panelist on this panel today because they've got one. They've got one in Peter Julian. The NDP and the Liberals are working together to ensure that this cover-up continues, that there isn't transparency, that there isn't an assurance of a fair Speaker in the House of Commons. The question is why?
Except, sorry, go ahead, Mr.
I let
Julian.
him speak with his wild, wacky conspiracy theories. And this is, again, the Conservatives trying to block everything in the House of Commons, including pharmacare, that the NDP has forced this government to put into place. Anti-scab legislation, again, affordable housing. These are all things that benefit people. Conservatives want to block everything. They want to turn attention to weeks of psychodrama around the issue of the Speaker, when it's something that the Speaker didn't do. The Speaker did the right thing and went through the clerk, and the Liberal Party of Canada blindsided him and have now fully apologized to him. But Conservatives don't want facts. They don't want explanations. They don't actually want Parliament to work. They want to break it down. They want to burn it to the ground. We've seen repeated examples of this from Mr. Poilievre, and I think Canadians are getting tired of this ongoing drama that Conservatives want to bring to the House of Commons rather than getting things done for people. People, in Mr. Warkenten's writing, about 17,000 will benefit from the pharmacare legislation that actually provides support for diabetes. It's $1,000 a month for people in his riding that are paying for diabetes medication now. There are about 25,000 people in his riding that will benefit from the contraception that will be provided free. And so these are things that actually benefit people in his riding. And you'll recall, for dental care, thousands of people have signed up in his riding, 5,000 or 6,000 seniors, 2 million right across the country, and we're seeing hundreds of thousands sign up every week. That's because the NDP brought dental care that will actually benefit seniors, benefit people with disabilities, benefit families with kids under 18. And the Conservatives object to any help going to any Canadians at any time. They just want to burn the House of Commons down.
Mr. Warkenten, you know, the Bloc, as I said, they're willing to support the Conservative motion. However, we're hearing from Mr. Julian, they're not going to support it. The Liberals are not going to support it. At the end of the day, Mr. Fergus will still be the Speaker of the House. What does that mean then about how your party will function in the House with Mr. Fergus continuing in the Speaker's chair?
Well, we're going to continue to fight for Canadians. Unfortunately, Mr. Julian has this rose-colored glasses on right now, believing that everything is great for Canadians, that life has never been better. But I can tell you that, well, here he is interrupting me again, like he promised that he wasn't going to do.
Julian, let Mr. Warkenten speak, please.
Again and again. The question is why the NDP continues to fight the efforts of our party to axe the tax to ensure that the vast majority of Canadians that are now paying more in the carbon tax than they get back could have a tax cut to ensure that they can enjoy the summer without the carbon tax. The question is why the NDP continues to oppose measures to actually make more affordable housing available to Canadians across this country. Unfortunately, we're currently in a 40-year inflationary crisis, a cost of living crisis because of the work of the NDP and the Liberal collaborating to destroy this country. The question is not about Parliament working, it's about things working for Canadians. I mean, I understand that Mr. Julian and Mr. Fergus and Mr. Trudeau all want a very comfortable life. What I want is a better life for Canadians, and the Conservative Party will continue to fight for that.
Quickly, last 30 seconds to you, Mr. Julian.
Well, food price gouging. We saw, of course, Conservatives are all over the Loblaws lobbyists. We've seen the jacking up of food prices in a way that is hurting Canadians profoundly. Conservatives have not said one word. Pierre Poilievre hasn't said one word about that. Gas price gouging, just a few weeks ago in British Columbia, 30-cent spike a litre by the gas companies, oil and gas companies, who are subsidized by the Canadian taxpayer heavily as a result of Conservatives putting in place all of these subsidies. Not a word from Conservatives. They haven't had one word to help any Canadian at any point over the course of the last few years since Mr. Poilievre was elected. And that's why the NDP's voice and Jagmeet Singh fighting hard for Canadians is needed now more than ever.
Okay. Although we did begin talking about Mr. Fergus, but I appreciate the thoughts both of you have shared with us this evening. Chris Warkenten, Peter Julian, thank you for this.
Thank you.